What up, what up, what up? Thank you for tuning in and welcome back to another episode of the Jesus for the Win podcast. Hey, let's go. I'm excited, as you can tell.
As you already know, I'm your co-host, Sapphire.
And I'm your other co-host, Oscar.
Yes.
With a lot of nicknames from the first episode.
No,
AKA,
we're not going to be talking about that.
Not a vote, it's 90.
Stop.
Right.
So today...
Yeah, tell them about the poll.
So the poll that we did, all of you viewers in the audience chose to talk about forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
That's going to be a tough topic to talk about.
Yeah. I honestly feel like this is definitely more your episode. Because, I don't know, just, life experiences, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like you've just gone through more things, I guess.
So there's not like any...
Well, I mean, I've gone through things, but we've talked, and I just feel like the stuff you've told me is like, oh man, like that's like, I don't think I can compare anything I've ever been through. I don't know. That's just how I feel.
I mean, I'm sure everybody in life has different like experiences and stuff, but doesn't mean that you've never dealt with like... No,
that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I've ever... I know that. I'm just saying like...
Yeah.
It's just... I feel like you're going to have a lot to say.
I'm sure.
About it, like a lot more than me.
Well, that's fine, as long as we're talking about it, right?
Yeah. But forgiveness. I mean, can I share my scriptures?
Of course. That's what we're here for.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, if I could go first.
Okay. Go for it.
Yeah. But I have a few here from the Bible kind of speaking about like, forgiveness.
Yeah. We probably have the same verses.
Maybe. I don't know. Mm-hmm. One of the ones, I mean, I'm not going to read the whole thing, right? But it's in Matthew. Mm-hmm. Matthew 4. And it starts in, which one is it? Because there's a few here actually that kind of tie into it. But my favorite one is the one where he speaks of murder. So it starts in Matthew 4, verse 21, where he says you have, where Jesus is, giving the teaching to the 2,000, I believe. Mm-hmm. And he says, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder. And anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with the brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Mm-hmm. So that one speaks a lot to me. I mean, it's short, right? I didn't read the whole thing, cut it short, but that one speaks to me about forgiveness. And then a big one for me too that I like, it's in Luke 23. Luke 23, verse 34, where Jesus is on the cross. He's already been crucified. He's up there. Mm-hmm. And he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Yeah. That's a big one for me, on the topic of forgiveness. And then the last one I have here, is in Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 31. I believe this is Paul, right? Paul was writing the letters to the churches and stuff.
Yeah, Paul.
So he said, get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as in Christ God forgave you. Mm-hmm. So those are 3 that I chose as far as like forgiveness goes.
Okay.
And I guess the reason I like the first one and the reason I chose the first one is because I believe it could tie in a lot to like what we go through now every day. Yeah. Because I know like I've heard it before, like, it's like, man, you shouldn't be mad at them. Like, nah, but they did me wrong. Mm-hmm. They did this and this to me. Like, I have a right to be mad. I should be mad. At least I'm not killing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it, but like I'm not. But it's, and I get it because I was there. We were both there.
Yeah.
Where we thought like we were justified to be mad, and it's like, no, I have a right to be mad. Like, what you mean? Don't be mad. Like, bro, like, look at what he did. Like, look at what they did to me. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
I understand why people feel that way, and I actually had a conversation like a few weeks ago on the group chat with the friends that I have, because one of them shared something about that, about like family members and like not forgiving them for things they've done to you and this and that,
Yeah.
And I get it, and it's definitely an earthly, worldly way of thinking, which is how we're born.
Yes.
And it makes sense because I know before I was the exact same way. I would have thought the same way,
Yeah.
But now that I'm here where I'm at and I have this other understanding, this spiritual understanding,
spiritual understanding,
as as hard as it is, you really do just have to let it go. Like, you have to forgive.
Oh, yeah.
Because no matter what someone has done to you, and I've had a few people do some things to me.
Yeah.
And I was mad for a long time, and I let it kind of, like, how's that word? Like, I let it like roll over like into our relationship at first. And then other things, just not really that it rolled over the other things, but like they were on my mind. And I always said like, man, if I ever run into this person, like, it's on sight. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I ever run into this dude, like, like, but that's, now I know like that's wrong.
Not
like,
the right way to think.
Because without even knowing, I was living and walking and just going through every day with this hate in my heart, this anger. And it says in the Bible, like, that's a sin, like, that's bad. Like, you have to let it go. Even the other one in Matthew, when he's giving the teaching where he talks about eye for an eye, I feel like that one ties into forgiveness too, like,
oh yeah.
That, how Jesus said, you've heard like an eye for an eye, but he's like, no, like, turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Like, if someone slaps you on your right cheek,
let them slap
show them the left,
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. I think like, I feel especially for people that are like not really there and like non-believers or maybe,
Yeah.
It's because I was there for a long time. It's kind of like you hear that and it's kind of like whatever.
It's
like
not,
it's so
it's
easy
not a
to
full
say.
understanding.
Yeah, but it's like, it's the right thing to do. Like, there's no reason.
Yeah.
To, because then it messes with you without even knowing. Like, you have this, like you said, anger and hate in you, like, all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just not good to carry.
Yeah. It's not the way to live.
It's not the way to live.
Who wants to live like that?
Yeah. And then I think like that kind of ties into the second one, Jesus being on the cross. He had, I mean, if you think about it, he had been beaten, whipped, just like spat on, like just pushed around and just like humiliated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, everything they did to him beforehand, making him carry the cross like that, like all beaten and like, like
continuing to beat him
and
while
still,
he's,
and then he's up there and they're still mocking him and making fun of him and all this stuff.
Saying if you are who you say you are, get yourself down from there.
And then like nailed to the cross, everything they did to him. And he's still able to be already up there dying, knowing that he's dying because of what they did to him, and still say like, Father, forgive them. I just think that's real powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm getting a little emotional right now because I'm thinking about it. But it's like if Jesus can do that, and of course, like, Jesus is, I know it's hard to compare yourself and be like, I can live like how Jesus lived. Like, it's nearly impossible.
Oh, of course. But he did like come in human form and like
to show like you can
do it.
this.
It's possible to do it because I'm coming in human form. I'm getting all your emotions and all the sins taken in. Like everything's coming to him.
And I just think that's real powerful because it's like if he can forgive them and ask God to forgive them after everything they did to him, like what has somebody done to you that can compare to that?
Yeah.
You know, like compared to what they did to him, what has somebody done to you that's that bad?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, not to say that like, no one's has like there's situations where
people have gone through things.
Really horrible things. Not to say that no one's ever gone through anything horrible. We're not, trying to downplay that. Everyone's, been through some really tough things in their life. But the point of
the big picture.
Yeah, the big picture is really just
and I think a book and a movie that really showcase that is The Shack. That the book and then the movie, like if you were to watch it or if you're into books, if you were to read it, it gives you a really good perspective into even someone that has gone through like the most horrible thing.
The loss of
how
child.
You still, it's best for you to forgive.
Yeah.
Like you have to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you have to, everyone has a free will, right? You make that choice, but
it's better.
It's better for you to forgive. And it shows like why it's better for you to forgive.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it's hard. It's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just something that we have to do.
Yeah.
Especially if you're, saved and you're trying to walk, make your walk, with Jesus and get to, have your relationship.
A godly life to be more like Jesus. We can't be him, but we can be more like him.
Yeah.
And,
you have to learn to forgive.
Yeah.
No matter how hard it is, you have to learn to forgive.
Oh, yeah.
And it's healthier for you too. Like like I said, like you don't understand the toll like carrying that stuff inside takes on you. Like it can get bad.
Yeah.
Really bad. So
I'm sure a lot of the people know that, like how heavy it can be, especially if those who've gone through, those things before, and then now you're completely different and, you let it go. I mean, you know exactly how it can be. Now for the people who are going through it at this point in their life, we're just trying to say like, you need to let it go. It's better for you to let it go inside.
Yeah.
To not have that hate and that anger.
Because I can say, like after being saved and everything, like I feel deep inside, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve to be loved, to be forgiven. But that's the beauty of God's grace, right? Like even though we don't deserve it, He gives it to us, So I think about that too. Like, if God's able to forgive me after, because I mean, I went through a time where I was so mad at God. When I lost my best friend, I was mad. I was so mad. For a while, for a long time, I was mad because I just didn't understand. Like, it didn't make sense. It's like, why? How? Like, like, I mean, he was my best friend, but I considered him like a brother, like he was so young, we were practically the same age, and, to just lose him like that, like it killed me inside, and I was so mad because I remember even beforehand, like I prayed, I was praying for him and we still lost him and it just didn't make sense to me and I was mad and I said so many things and I thought so many things and, that's why when what happened with you, happened and you started inviting me to church, I was kind of like, about it, And then when I started getting into it and it started feeling good, one of the biggest obstacles for me was like, I'm here, I'm attending church, it feels nice, but I feel like I don't deserve to be here. Like, I feel like I shouldn't be here. Like, I felt like a hypocrite being there after being so angry at God and saying the things I said about God or thinking the things I thought about God when I was so mad, like And after talking to a few people and like kind of like learning, that's when I learned about, like you said, God's mercy and God's grace and
His forgiveness.
and I think if anyone understands, God understands how we have this earthly way of thinking, and it's like he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And thankfully now with your help, because you're my dove. Call you my dove. And I've gotten to know it. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I completely understand 100% because no one does. But
it's
I
above
definitely,
our understanding.
Yeah, I definitely have a better understanding that kind of helps me cope with it more. A
better view of it, yeah.
But yeah, so if Jesus can forgive like that, if God can forgive us like that, I think it's important for us to try to emulate that the best way we can, and just forgive the people around us and forgive the people in our lives that have, done us dirty, Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to say.
Okay. Well, I had a similar verse. So my verses for forgiveness are Matthew 18:21-22. So he's like talking like to Peter. And then he says, Then Peter came up and said to him, Lord, how often will my brother sin against me and forgive him? And I forgive him. As many as 7 times? Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 77 times. So no matter how many times someone does something wrong to you, all those times that they do something wrong to you, those are all the times you're going to have to forgive them.
Yeah.
Forgive them. Yeah. And then the other one I have is just, if another one in Matthew 6:15, it says, but if you do not forgive others their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. So, like, if you're not forgiving others, how do you expect God to forgive you for the things that you've done?
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of people like to say like, oh, well, I didn't do this or I didn't do that, or, they're doing this to me and I've never done that. Like, there's no way around any type of sin. Like, no matter what you do or have done or not done, you still have to forgive, just like others can forgive you. How you expect others to forgive you or how you expect God to forgive you, you have to think the same way and forgive them.
Yeah, because it even says it in the prayer, right? Like, forgive us for our trespasses as we forgive those
our Father,
who trespass against us.
Yeah.
But if you're not forgiving those who are sinning against you, then how can you expect?
How can you expect that in return? From God, most importantly, but for other people, like, as well,
You're shaking the camera a lot. It's okay. I forgive you. I just wanted to let you know. But, sorry, guys. Just a little. But it's all good.
Just off topic real quick.
Just a little observation.
Forgiveness is a big one. I mean, I know just me personally, I kind of like went into it at, in the first episode about my testimony, of for not having, so I didn't have my biological father around. I just had my mom to raise me on her own until I was about, 3 or 4. And then my stepfather came into the picture. And I'm more than grateful and thankful for that man. Like, I love him to death. And, he's my dad. That's my dad.
Yeah.
But it didn't exclude the feelings that I had towards my biological father, not being there and, not being in my life and not knowing him. And I didn't know that my stepfather was my stepfather until I was in my teenage years.
Yeah.
They kind of like sat down and talked to me and they were just like, this is actually your stepfather. And, when you were small, like, your biological father like left me and all these things. And it was just like, what the heck? Like, you know, I would say, I think I was like 13 when this conversation happened.
So you're like,
and I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, this man is not my dad.
Yeah.
Like, you know, imagine just like thinking when you're being that small and you're just like, what the heck is this? But, you know, I guess they felt it was time to tell me because I had to know, and I'm getting older. And of course I appreciate that conversation. But at the time I was just like, well, what the heck? Like, this, you know,
did you get mad? Were you like, you've been lying to me? Or were you like,
yeah, no, I did feel a lot of anger because I was just like, well, you know, why didn't I know? But now looking back on it, of course, well, growing up, I was just like, well, I understood because, you know, they had to wait until I was old enough to grasp the concept of, you know, like them telling me this news. If they told me when I was like 5 or 6 years old, like, what child's really going to understand that, you know? So I understood it as I got older, especially now. But, you know, during that time, and you're in your, you know, your teenage years, those teen years, and you're just like, oh my gosh, the whole world's against you, right? But I had just a lot of anger because I felt like I was being lied to. But then a lot of my anger just implemented on my biological father not being there. That just like, you know, caused a lot of hate and a lot of hurt in my heart and inside that, you know,
that you grew up
that
with.
I grew up with. And like, you know, that as growing up and like, you know, I was, you know, a bad teenager, but I also went through a lot of, you know, depression and suicidal thoughts. But, you know, a lot of that caused that because it was like I felt my parents, I know they loved me and I know they love me, you know, but for this side of the hatred and the hurt from this person, it was like I felt unloved. Like, you know, why would he leave? Like, why wouldn't he be there? You know, why wouldn't he look for me? Why wouldn't he try to, you know, reach out to me? Like anything, all those things just caused me to feel like unloved, lost, you know, and not being able to obviously forgive him. And, you know, that kind of played into a lot of like my actions and thoughts growing up and everything I did, you know, felt a little, you know, I felt unworthy. I felt like, oh, like I don't deserve love or anything like that, which obviously consisted of me looking for love in those wrong places in partners. And, you know, it wasn't the right thing to do. I know that, but, you know, it was just like that. And it was always like a fear I had to like, oh, they're going to leave. They're going to leave. Like, you know, anyone who came into my life, like they're going to leave. You know, it was just this fear that was inside me too, with all this anger and hurt. And, you know, as I got older, it was still there. It was still there. And then, you know, obviously up until this happened, like, you know, when I gave my life to Christ, it was really like, okay, you know, letting it all go and, you know, praying. Like I had my moments where I would pray and just be like, I don't want to have this hate and this hurt anymore. Like, I don't want it inside me. It's eaten me up. It's consumed my life so much. I don't want it anymore. Like, take it. Like, I know it's not going to be easy for me to forgive or let go of things, but at least I know in my heart and my mind and like the spirit talking to, like speaking to me, like, I don't want it. Like, I just want nothing but peace and happiness that I was already feeling. But of course, in certain areas in your life, you know, you're still going to work on. So, you know, as I said that prayer and I felt a lot better, you know, I you kind of have to say it like every day. You kind of have to pray for it every day. It's something that's going to take time.
Definitely takes time.
Especially like, you know, for the people out there who've been through my shoes. Like if you didn't have a mother or father growing up, you know, if somebody did something bad to you, if, you know, there's a loss in your family, anything like that, it's definitely going to take time. And a lot of people, you know, forget that forgiveness is not a feeling. It's definitely a choice. Yeah. Forgiveness is a choice because you're choosing to forgive this person or whoever, you know, did something to you. And it's not easy and it's going to take a lot of work and it takes steps. you know, like, but at least you know that you have it in your heart and your mind that you want to forgive them. And that's really, that matters. That's like really the first step. You know, it's that causes, you know, you having hate and unforgiveness towards people or someone. It's like, it sets you back, you know, it cuts off those boundaries. And I mean, your blessings, like it really blocks everything that you could be or that you could receive, you know, back. I would say, you know, also, other than that, you know, I've talked about, you know, my child abuse that I experienced, you know, when I was, you know, a child. I was small, and, you know, someone who I didn't expect like really would, you know, hurt me, or it was, you know, that it was wrong or right. And, you know, you're a kid, you don't know, and you think it's okay. And then as you get older and you're feeling like ugly about it. And then as you get older, you're just like, okay, that was wrong. And, you know, this is what happened. And then you feel the most like ugly about yourself and the most hatred towards this person. You know, because of course, like they took, you know, your innocence away, but that took a long time to forgive for me as well. You know, the same thing. Like I just knew that I didn't want to have hate and, you know, this ugliness anymore towards them and to myself too. You know, it was a lot of things that I had to deal with internally, you know, to forgive that and forgive that person. But I know that I prayed for it too. And then that made it easier. Actually, like praying for both of those things the first time just made me feel a lot of relief. And I was just like, okay, like now, you know, I gotta work at this, and, you know, I'm gonna try and I'm gonna do it because that's what I want. I didn't want to have like all these things to like have, you know, in my heart. Which goes to say, forgiveness is a very hard, and it's a big one. I mean,
it's not easy.
It's definitely not easy.
It's not easy to do. It's not easy to talk about.
Yeah, of course.
You know, especially like for us, like in our culture, like we don't talk about these things.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, I would say definitely for the men and the boys, like,
yeah,
you guys are like,
especially men and like, you know, Mexican culture, like we just, you just keep everything in and you just like push it down and you just keep it moving like nothing happened. You know? You know, you don't go talk to your dad like about, hey, you know, this and this happened and it's bothering me. Or like this, you know, you don't talk about your feelings. You don't talk about your emotions. You're not supposed to cry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so it's hard. But I think a lot of that's changing. I think little by little it's changing. Like, then, you know, it's just a little more accepting, you know, like they're a little more open. You know, I've seen it, you know, I've seen that, and like, you know, family members and stuff like, no llores, you know what I mean? Like, eres hombre, you're a man, you shouldn't be crying. Or like, you know, real like machismo, as they say, you know, type.
Macho.
Yeah, you know, honestly, like, and I'm telling you, like, this is why, you know, like, I've had things happen to me outside of my family that I had trouble, like, forgiving. You know, like with other people that weren't in my immediate family, I guess. Because when it comes to that, I mean, you know, like, I saw that machismo culture growing up from other people because my dad was never like that. And that's why I always say, like, I'm lucky. Like, I never realized how really blessed I was until I got older. You know, but like my father wasn't like that. Like, he had like a balance, you know, and it's like, yeah, he brought me up and he made me, you know, like help him around the house and do things, you know, to like teach me stuff and yes, be tough, but it was never like, oh, but you're a man, so you're not allowed to do these certain things. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, cry. Like, if you need to cry, cry. Like, it's all good. Like talk to me. You know what I mean? As I got older and I was going through other certain things.
It was like your choice not to be doing those things.
Like, as I got older and I was going through other things, like, he would tell me, like, he would ask me, like, are you okay? You know, like, are you good mentally? Like, do you know if you ever feel like depressed or anything? Like, come talk to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know I would tell like friends and people that, and they'd be like, "What? Like, I wish my parents would do that," or like, "I could never talk to my dad like that. He would never ask me." You know what I'm saying? So I know like it's there, and like I said, from other family members, I grew up seeing it. You know, I just, I guess thank God that I
Yeah,
had
of
a
course.
understanding.
Well, yeah, that's, I mean, of course, that's a
both my
blessing.
parents were like that. It's just right now we're talking about like the men stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well, yeah.
talking about my father
I mean,
more, but
that's good, but of course, we know a lot of people out there don't have that
yeah,
luxury to
that's what I'm
be
saying.
able
Like, I
to
was
talk to
blessed.
their moms or dads, about stuff like this or just anybody in general. But obviously, like your immediate family is the most, where
Yeah,
you really go to and talk to, right? They're the closest, they're your family and they had you. But,
yeah,
it's just, even if, you weren't brought up that way or taught that way, break those generational curses, y'all. Like,
yeah,
you don't need to be like how you were raised. You don't need to be how they tell you to be if there's anything bad.
yeah.
Not the good stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff, keep it.
Yeah, keep the good stuff.
Don't
Just
not love your children. Like, if your
yeah.
parents loved you, love them too. Like,
Yeah. We're talking about the bad stuff,
Yeah.
y'all. Like
it's like,
not talking about your
Sapphire said to,
feelings.
don't be like my parents. They love me, so I'm not gonna love my kid.
No, we're
That's
talking
what
about the, not communication, not being able to talk about your feelings or anything. Like if there's anything wrong or anything on your mind, maybe you needed to be like, I didn't really like this, or I didn't really like how you did this or said this. It's always good to talk about stuff. So we're definitely talking about that, do bring that. But, the forgiveness, the big forgiveness thing, so
And
just being able to talk about that.
Yeah. And I just want to say too, like, I don't want people to get confused. Like, yes, you should forgive everyone, but just because you're forgiving someone doesn't mean that you necessarily need to have them in your life.
Oh, yeah.
Like all the time. Like someone that's constantly there. Like, it doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you have a family member, and I say that because like they're usually the ones that'll probably be like harder to get rid of. You know what I mean? Because they're your family.
They're around.
If you have a family member that did you wrong, or is constantly always just doing you wrong, or is constantly just like bagging on you and just like talking mess to you. You know what I mean? Like every time, like everything you do is like like they never have something nice to say. Like anything you do something, they find something to like pick at, or like, oh, but you did, like, oh, I got a new job. Like, oh yeah, but at this place. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you have people like that, like, just forgive them. But it doesn't necessarily mean like you have to have them there.
Best friends with them.
Yeah, like you can love people from afar. You know what I mean? It's like I'll give my example. It wasn't a family member. But I've known this guy since 6th grade. We practically grew up together, all of middle school, all of high school. We played sports together. Still hung out after high school. He was a really good friend of mine. And I trusted him, and I would have never thought that he did, that he would ever do the things he did. He took money from me. He stole from me. He left me without a vehicle because he stole that money from me. He lost my brother's truck because he stole that money from him and his mom after he had already passed. He still stole from them. I was mad. And now that I'm here where I'm at, it's like, okay, I forgive you. Like, I'm not mad at you. I can forgive you for what you did. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to hit him up and hang out with him like how we used to and get together and play Madden or FIFA or go to, like go hang out, go grab something to eat. Like I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Just because I forgive him doesn't mean I'm going to be there all buddy with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, if the day comes where I run into him at Stripes or Walmart or at a show, anywhere, I'm not gonna be mean to him.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Of course.
do the things that I would think before, like, man, if I ever run into this guy, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna do any of that.
Oh yeah.
You be nice, you be kind.
Yeah.
If you have to, you say hi.
And
you know,
that's it.
like, hey,
Let her go.
and that's it. If for some reason he were to be like, ask me for something, or like, it was like, yeah, you know what? Because that's what you do. You forgive, you be kind, you serve.
Yeah.
If anything, the people that are doing you wrong and have done stuff to you and that you're having to forgive, you should serve them even more.
Even more. Yeah.
You know, kind of like,
that's what Jesus says.
Drown them with that love, with that grace, with that mercy. The same grace and mercy that God shows you, show that to them, and they'll see in you. You know, how do you say it? Like that godly.
Yeah, they'll see the glow. They'll see the love, and that's the light. That's, you know, what Jesus says. It says to be the light, and, you know, show the love and show the love, and they would see the love, and then they would experience like, well, I want what he has. I want that love that
you know,
he
and
has.
Hopefully it rubs off, you know.
Exactly.
But I mean, that would be it. And once it's time for me to go, I'm gonna go, and that's that. You know?
Of course.
So I just want people to understand that, like,
I mean, we're not saying like
you don't have to have them in your life. It doesn't mean things have to go exactly to the way they were. You know.
Yeah.
If someone's really bad and doing things to you, and you know it's not good for them to be around, then don't have them around. But inside, you need to forgive them. For yourself.
Yeah. Exactly. We don't need to be friends with them. Like, for my stance with my biological father situation, like, you know, it's not that I wouldn't want a relationship with him now. Like, now being where I'm at and letting go of that hurt and that hate, and, you know, learning to forgive him and forgiving for myself too. You know, I would like for us to have a relationship, and, you know, right now our relationship's kind of at a, you know,
it's like it's in an awkward
stage, you know. Of course, if you didn't have this person all your life, it's like you're meeting someone brand new, right? So, you know, we're like getting there, and especially with well, I guess she's technically like my stepmom, right? And I have conversations with her, and so, you know, his grandkids, our kids, is like, like to have relationships with them. So, you know, it's getting there. I know, you know, it can be a lot better, and I can try on my part again, you know, but that's where I'm trying to, you know, work on and stuff. So something like that, I know I can build a relationship with him because I want to, you know, and I'm sure like it's vice versa.
Yeah.
But for like, you know, for my abuser, I would say, like, if I were ever to be around them, you know, I wouldn't treat them any bad. I wouldn't look at them. I wouldn't say anything ugly. You know, I would just be like, hey, you know, and like show them the love and show them, you know, the mercy. Like, I wouldn't just be ugly, because that's not how we're supposed to be. You know, that's not what you need to do or how you should do. You know, and then there's, you know, and once you get to that whole level of forgiveness, maybe, you'd be like,
you know,
like,
come on,
sure, let's come on in. Let's invite, you know, you need something, I got you.
But
you need help, like, let me know.
Baby steps.
It's baby steps.
It takes a while to get there.
It does take a while to get there, you know, especially if it's, you know, around family, you know, because I know that's a tough topic, but I know abuse is everywhere, you know, like physical abuse and sexual abuse. I know that's everywhere. And unfortunately, it can be in a lot of the families as well. You know, those generational curses, like those really are just curses, like, and evilness. But a lot has to do with, like, you know, it happening to them, and then they think it's okay. And then, you know, it just keeps on happening. Like, that's why it's a, you know, a generational thing, or within, you know, family members, or when you're really young, like, you know, so of course, when it's like within like that in family, I know it's a lot harder. Like you said, like, you don't have to be like, oh, buddy with them, but you're going to be around them because they're family, you know, and it's just like, as long as you forgive them and, you know, you feel comfortable enough for those steps to take to have conversations. And like in the environment, and have conversations with them, and just be like, hey, like, I'm here. If I'm here, if you need me, just showing that love. But like I said, it takes those steps. It does take a while.
Yeah, we're all capable of it.
It is possible.
Yeah, you forgive all the time. You're a Cowboys fan. You forgive them every year for letting you down.
You really had to bring that in there. So yeah, it's definitely steps, guys. And okay. I actually have something here for everybody. To help. If you want to write some notes down on your phone, a pen and paper of some steps to help you start and do. Okay. So it is step 1 is to pray. Okay. There's a verse for that from Matthew 5:44 about consistently praying for everything, right? And then the next one is to love and do good to the offender, like we've been talking about.
Right.
That's in Romans 12:9. Okay. 3 is don't speak poorly of the offender. So don't just be like, oh yeah, they did this and they're so ugly and they're so horrible, and especially to other people, they're this and that. Yeah. That's in Romans 12:14. The next one is release them from your punishment. They may not be, you may think that they don't deserve this forgiveness.
Right.
Right. No matter how bad it may be, how bad it was to you, you may think I don't need, they don't deserve this. And that's true. Maybe they don't, but neither do you. Yeah. Neither do we. None of us do. None of us deserve this forgiveness, but by grace's mercy and grace and the love we are. So we should do the same. The next one is don't celebrate their failures. So let's say, you heard, they lost their job, they lost their house. And
or something bad happened to them.
Yeah, something bad happened to them and you're like, that's fine, they deserved it.
That's what they get.
Yeah, that's what they get. Haha, no, that's having a lot of envy and revenge in your heart and petty, and that's not the way to live, and it's not how we should be. The next one is treat them the way you want to be treated.
That's the golden rule.
That's the golden rule, because it's yes, they may have done something bad to you, but what about times that you've done things?
Yeah.
No sin is greater than the other. I mean, to God there is, but to us, it's just I want people to treat me with love. I want to be respected. Yeah. So then you treat others with love and you treat others with respect. And then the last thing, which is the big thing, would be to stop dwelling on the past. Yeah. Stop dwelling on that situation. Don't, let it go. Let's breathe. Let's pray. Let's let it go. Let's not keep on thinking about it. Let's not keep on replaying it in our hearts, in our minds. Every time we see them, every time we're doing something to them, how it affects your life. It's gonna block you from doing things. It's gonna block you from the feelings. It's gonna block you from the love and the peace that you can receive. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to live like that. Yeah. You don't want to have that. And then at all.
The other way too, if you've done something wrong.
Oh yeah.
Apologize.
Yeah. Be the bigger person.
You can't control how the other person is gonna react or respond, but at least you
did. Yeah, exactly. At least you did it for yourself. Yes. Yeah. And you apologize.
I can say for me, when I got saved and I put my testimony out there on Facebook, the first thing that happened was, because we have a group chat with friends and stuff. It's all guys. So you can imagine the type of things that we would talk about and say. And so, when that happened, they screenshot it and they put it on there oh, this guy, whatever, he's full of it. He just posted this thing.
Yeah.
How can you say this when you just said this, and that about, me and my whatever, you know what I'm saying? And it's and sometimes they still bring it up oh, but you're says the guy that said, I'll put a verse or something, a verse of the day, and says the guy that said this, and this. I'm like,
oh, that's not me anymore.
That's not me anymore. Like, that was the old me, and I apologized for that.
Yeah.
You know, when they brought that up the first time, you know, when it was brand new, I remember I said, like, I know I said a lot of things on here that I probably that I shouldn't have said. A lot of hurtful things, even though it was all like in joking, you know, like just trying to be mean as possible and, you know, one-upping each other with like insults, you know. It was like, I know I said a lot of things on here that I shouldn't have, especially to one specific person about a very tragic thing that he went through in his life. And it was like, I'm sorry. Like, you know, I told him, like, I'm sorry about that. Like, I should have never said that. I'll never say anything like that again. Like, that was the old me. Like, you know, like, I truly am sorry for the things I said to you. You know,
so be the bigger picture, be the bigger person.
And like I said, they still bring it up sometimes, but it's like, man, that was the old me.
Yeah,
like I don't.
It's
do that
you're a totally new person. What you did before doesn't define you. You know, forgiveness goes for yourself too. You know, you got to forgive yourself for things you might have done or things you might have said to others as well. You know, and it goes the same way. You got to learn to forgive yourself, let it go. Go apologize, make amends. And, you know, if, you know, they want to be friends or talk to you or have a relationship with you, whoever it might be, then cool, that's perfect, right? That would be beautiful. But if they don't, then it's okay. Continue to love them from afar and just walk in the light.
Yep.
So, all right, guys. Well, yeah, we will be doing another poll to see what you guys would want to be talking about for episode 3.
Yeah, thank you for watching.
Stay tuned for that.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Yes.
And we out.
Yeah, remember, Jesus loves you.